Declassified footage shared by the All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, before the Senate Armed Services Committee on April 19, 2023, sparked the interest of conspiracy theorists everywhere. The clip in question, taken from a Reaper drone during a standard operation over the Middle East during the summer of 2022, shows a metallic orb-shaped object abruptly crossing the drone's field of view and traveling in the opposite direction. What follows is a frantic attempt by the drone to catch up with the speed of the strange object as it makes its way through the environment at an undisclosed altitude. The All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office named it the Middle East object, and due to the lack of data, its nature will likely remain unknown, leaving many across the web to wonder and speculate about its true origin. On July 15, 2022, Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks, in coordination with the Director of National Intelligence, amended her original direction from November 2021 when she announced the establishment of the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group, or AOI-SMG, as the successor of the U.S. Navy's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. According to a press release from the Department of Defense, or DoD, from November 23, 2021, the object of the AOI-SMG would be to, quote, synchronize efforts across the department and the broader U.S. government to detect, identify, and attribute objects of interest in special use airspace, or SUA, and to assess and mitigate any associated threats to the safety of flight and national security. The DoD noted, it took very seriously the incursions of airborne objects, both identified and not, into American special use airspace, meticulously analyzing each one. Hicks's amendment was related to expanding the scope of the AOI-MSG group and renaming it the All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, following the enactment of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2022. The authorization called for establishing an office with broader responsibilities than those originally assigned to the AOI-MSG. The DoD also announced that Dr. Sean M. Kirkpatrick, who had been the chief scientist at the Defense Intelligence Agency's Missile and Space Intelligence Center, was to be appointed the director of AARO. As of today, the mission of the All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office is to, quote, minimize technical and intelligence surprise by synchronizing scientific intelligence and operational detection, identification, attribution, and mitigation of unidentified anomalous phenomena in the vicinity of national security areas. This includes military installations, training bases, special use airspace, and other areas of interest where it may be necessary to mitigate any threats to the safety of operations and national security. The AARO Executive Council, led by Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security Ronald Moultrie, provides direction linked primarily to science and technology, mitigation and defeat, system capabilities and design, governance and surveillance, collection and reporting. Since creating AARO, Director Kirkpatrick has undertaken the task of improving data collection, standardizing reporting requirements, and mitigating potential threats to safety and security posed by identified and unidentified flying objects. While most people have directly assimilated the term unidentified flying objects, or UFOs, to alien spacecraft thanks to pop culture, AARO has chosen to adopt the term UAP to distance itself from this basic concept of aircraft from extraterrestrial origins. UAP stands for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. As such, the office has determined that UAP may refer to airborne objects that cannot be immediately identifiable, transmedium devices or objects, and submerged devices or objects that cannot be identified or display anomalous behavior or performance characteristics. Furthermore, the DoD and AARO consider UAPs in multiple domains. Anomalous detections can be either airborne, spaceborne, seaborne, or transmedium, with behaviors that are not yet fully understood by observers or sensors. AARO has stated anomalous detections, quote, include but are not limited to phenomena that demonstrate apparent capabilities or material that exceed known performance envelopes. A UAP may consist of one or more unidentified anomalous objects and may persist over an extended period of time. The newly created All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office and its director, Dr. Kirkpatrick, were the highlight of the media after a public briefing held by NASA in June 2023. The briefing was centered around an incident reported last year on July 12, 2022, when an American military MQ-9 Reaper drone flying a routine mission over the Middle East detected a strangely metallic, spherical orb. During the declassified briefing, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick went step by step to explain the footage captured by the drone. Kirkpatrick remarked that during a previous April hearing before the Senate Armed Services Committee, he testified that over 52% of the UAPs AARO is currently investigating are either round or spheres. He showed the strange-looking object and told the attendees, quote, "This is a typical example of the thing we see most of. We see these all over the world, making very interesting apparent maneuvers." Although the footage from the Reaper drone was partially redacted, blocking out details regarding the MQ-9's location, speed, and altitude, the spherical object was clearly visible. The video was simply titled Middle East Object by the DoD. Although the location was never mentioned, the Bellingcat website could geolocate the video to an area close to the city of Deir ez-Zor, Syria. The 25-second clip begins with a close-up of a group of buildings with some locals talking outside. According to Bellingcat, the location they tracked matched perfectly the one found on Google Earth. Besides the main building, 3 additional objects indicated the team was right about where the drone captured the footage. The clip begins with the drone assessing the situation below as it flies by in an upward direction. Suddenly, the peculiar metallic orb appears out of nowhere from the right side. An instant later, the Reaper drone desperately pursues to track the object and not lose it from the camera. As the American drone tries its best to follow the sphere's direction, Kirkpatrick highlights, quote, "We see these orb-shaped UAP making very interesting apparent maneuvers." The metallic sphere begins to fly in a straight line over the people, animals, and buildings below in a direction opposite to the Reaper drone. Although some have pointed out that the balloon was not moving, and the perception of movement resulted from a parallax illusion, the footage shows the drone struggling to trace the metallic sphere. It is plausible the drone was flying at a speed of over 300 kilometers per hour and at an altitude of over 7 kilometers, which may hint at the violent camera shaking as the drone attempts to focus on the UAP flying in the opposite direction. During the April 2023 hearing, Director Kirkpatrick noted, quote, "This is essentially all of the data we've associated with this event. It's going to be virtually impossible to fully identify the object just based off of that video." Thus, AARO and the public were left with 3 possible conclusions due to lacking a more feasible identification. As a result, the metallic sphere in question could be technology belonging to an unidentified country, such as Russia or China, or a technology of extraterrestrial origin. Although no more data can actually back up the latter claim, there is another conclusion that, although it may appear simple, has an interesting argument behind it. Analysts have pointed out that the object in question may be just a standard commercial balloon. First, AARO has listed balloons among the most common objects classified as UAPs. Secondly, the object in question matches the shape and characteristics of balloons. It is spheric and appears metallic, like balloons made of foil. Another interesting detail mentioned by Bellingcat that links all the pieces is related to the Muslim Eid al-Adha holiday, whose 3rd and last day of celebrations was on July 12, 2022, when the Reaper drone spotted the metallic sphere. Pictures and footage from Damascus and Deir ez-Zor from last year's celebrations show a lot of balloons in the streets, suggesting that maybe the American drone had an encounter with a non-lethal balloon. Still, nobody knows for sure, and the possibility of an extraterrestrial spheric spacecraft can remain in contention.